Okay, welcome to Sacred Conversations. My name is Mandula, and today I've written quite a bit down, but we're just going to break it down a little bit. But the question is, are you betraying yourself? I'll ask you again. Are you betraying yourself? Now, because this is not a specific reading for a particular person, it's just on the collective base of understanding betrayal. Please only take what resonates, always. Try not to make things fit, because what needs to fit will naturally flow with ease. So you can always sort of like use that as your tool, as part of your tool, that if it is it, generally it is it. And if it is not, generally it is not. Maybe not for the lifetime, but definitely for this particular circumstance. Okay. So we are looking at betrayal. And we look at how self-betrayal is a form of rejection. Now, rejection synonyms, I just took a few of these. Non-acceptance, dismissal, exclusion, avoidance, ignoring, brush off, shut or turn down. And the reason, or part of the reason, we betray ourselves is to not be rejected. I'll repeat that. You betray yourself in order to not be rejected. But ultimately, you are rejecting yourself. And you don't want to be rejected by others who are in community, because this is based on your sense of survival. And your sense of survival will condition you to people please, to put another first before yourself. And you know that saying, sharing is caring. You share because you've been conditioned to share, despite you not feeling good about it. But you feel that it is the right thing to do. So we get caught up in the dance between this is right, this is wrong, what's aligned to my highest sort of self and perspective, the heart, versus what the mind has been conditioned to believe is true. So it's this constant dance in order for you to be able to gain deeper sense of coherency between the head and the heart space through rest, through movement, through meditation, through cultivating practices and rituals for you to ground yourself into present moment, so that life becomes an art of living. Okay. So I remember once there was a kid around and someone was just like, sharing is caring. And this kid rightfully said, no, it's not. It's half. And this was many, many, many moons ago. And I remember it so distinctly because it was so true. And granted, we must understand that everything is circumstantial. Okay. So on a particular circumstance, it will mean a different thing. But sharing is half. And I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but sharing is half because now you are betraying the full capacity that you have to be able to fill yourself up with divinity and recognize your divinity and connection within yourself by sharing this joy with others, even if you haven't fully embodied the joy. So it's half. So you're not fully getting the embodiment in its full expression within you, because you have a unique way in which you are able to share your gifts, and you have a unique way in which we get to see divinity and remember, yes, there is more to this, and to then help each other be inspired. And to be inspired is to be in spirit. So to move in spirit, you become an inspiration and become inspirational. Okay. So we are groomed, and if not healed, we are groomed to put others first before ourselves. And it goes back to the sense of rejection, that in order to belong here in this community, you got to betray yourself. It's almost like a sense of sacrifice. You know, when you get into certain groups or gangs, there's a certain sacrifice you have to make that says you are willing to do this to yourself to protect us. And then everybody does it. So we are also groomed in the same like holding space to move from a feeling bad vibration, even though we are quote unquote doing the right thing. So now we become a people that are trained to do the right thing, even if it feels bad. And then it becomes this deeper dance between the head and the heart space, where the heart is saying no, but because you need to belong in this community, they are saying yes. So now you move from this vibration of doing good and doing the right thing, but it feels bad. And ultimately what you are doing, as you exchange your energy, you are moving and expanding upon that feeling bad, that low vibration. This is also connected to your money. So when you people pleasing, when you're giving of yourself, when you aren't full, you're not giving what is pouring or overflowing from your cup. Because then we get told you are selfish. If that is the case, if you pouring into yourself to be full of yourself is a bad thing. And I always say, be full of yourself. Because then if you're not full of yourself, who's there? Who's taking up space besides you being full of yourself? And then this is where we experience deep conflict, because now you've been conditioned to not tell the truth. You've even been taught to not tell the truth in order to maintain alliance within your community. And this alliance is saying that because you sacrificed yourself to belong here, we are going to protect you. Right? But now you reject who you are in order to belong to a people. Here's the catch: who have also rejected themselves and are also seeking acceptance. So it's a very sort of like backward, I guess it would be like almost like the backwards law or part of it, where you begin with the end in mind. But even if you aren't conscious about it, it is happening anyways, because by the mere fact that when you think about something or when you feel something, those two are connected. There might be a disconnection because it's unconscious, but it's definitely conscious on one realm. It's about you reconditioning yourself, rewiring, recalibrating nervous system, rewiring brain, in order for you to bring yourself back to the highest vibration, where when you are giving goodness, it feels good too. Because when you are feeling good, it pours over from an abundant space. Then there's no room for low vibration, because what is and what you are doing are on the same line. They are speaking the same language. And when we go back to rejecting yourself, you are hanging in a vibration around people who are all rejecting themselves. This is what keeps families poor, because of this low vibration, that if you are belonging, you would rather belong to a high vibration than to a low, would you not? But because there's a certain enforcement that happens, and we start leading our way into bullying. Bullying is a very common thing because it starts in the family. So when we look at bullying, the definition is to seek to harm, intimidate, or coerce someone perceived as vulnerable. And who are the most vulnerable people within the spectrum? If we had to bring all different types of genders, into the conversation, women and kids. So they are bullied into rejecting themselves in order to belong. And this is why I wrote down here, it's so weird how we landed here. And I even wrote, this might sound weird to say, but your parents, unless healed, are entities. You aren't dealing with them, you are dealing with the entities that have taken over them, especially when you or they aren't living in alignment. So now we need to go, what are entities? By definition, a thing with distinct and independent existence. An entity is a thing with distinct and independent existence. Then we also have the second part where it says it is existence and being. Now, if you aren't in the being, that means you are in the doing. And when you are doing, there's a sense of people pleasing. Unless you are healed, then you are not being. So when we look at entity, the other synonyms, I think, are organization, establishment, institution, structure. Then when we have it with the existence and being, it says essence and then vital force. Okay. So when we say that your parents aren't your parents, you're dealing with the entities because they have been conditioned to also survive in a certain system. Now we got to date back. If you are currently listening to this at this particular time, date back 50 years ago, then date back 100 years ago. So you do every 50. And it's not to say that every 50, that's the only time things change, because things are changing with every breath. But you look at the different types of generations, your parents, their parents, their parents' parents, and you look at the eras of where they had to survive. They were conditioned into these entities and became these entities, so that through the teachings that they were giving you, they were teaching you from what felt right, which equaled the good thing to do. So it's from that low vibrational state of fear that now you aren't being taught to be full of yourself. You are being conditioned and have been the whole time to be less of yourself, unless that parent has done some deep healing work. And the deep healing work is a recalibration of the nervous system and the rewiring of the brain. All this is the repatterning of your sacred geometry within your DNA that exists within your water molecules and every other nutrient that is, existent in your body. So it's an entity that you are dealing with. Hence why when you look deeper and you do like a lot more spiritual work into this, you start seeing how this is not your parent. Okay. And then this is when conflict again arises, because one part of your brain has been conditioned to believe you are not powerful, and your heart through your body is trying to remind you that you are. And just this image of you must understand that the fact that you came meant that you were meant to bloom. But because you weren't taught how to be ready to bloom, you were taught how to be ready to bloom by how not blooming is. And then unfortunately, or fortunately, depends how you look at it, as you start to learn more alchemy, you start to realize that once again, you learn who you are mostly through what you are not. You learn more through pressure and discomfort more than through comfort, up until you are healed. And when I mean healed, once again, it's recalibrating the nervous system, rewiring the brain in order to reignite or restart, hit the restart button, get it as close to the restart button of who you were designed to be when you first came here. You don't have to work to be yourself. You don't have to work to be accepted, but you've been conditioned in order to belong. And if this hasn't answered possible queries or insights around why you are betraying yourself, then I hope this definitely did. If you are looking for a personal reading, please do get in touch. My email will be in the description below, and I look forward to being able to expand these conversations in a more personal way, in a more deeper group setting where deeper healing around these aspects of our being can be felt together in union, whether in physical presence or in spiritual presence, just the presence. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this, and I hope this has given you a lot more confidence that you are already powerful. There's nothing for you to do but to simply accept yourself. With so much love, Mandula.